we have selected a group of amazing students who are going to help us talk about some of these things in our next segment. They are from The Ohio State University with a variety of different really cool majors who are doing things now as young people to make sure that they're paying attention to these red flags and these green flags. Welcome, everyone. They are so awesome, so awesome. So, Jada and I are going to work with and talk with our panel. And we have our flag. You have your card?
Flag.
We have red and green. And so we're going to talk about some of these scenarios here. And we're going to discuss what's going on in these scenarios. So the first scenario, you're now dating a person who you recently met. You're having dinner, and he or she says, "I love you so much and want us to spend all of our time together. I don't want to share you with your friends and family. It's just us." Is that a red flag or a green flag? Hold up your cards. Oh, everybody said red. Everybody said red. Okay, is it possible for Josh to unmute himself and tell us why that?
Absolutely.
Yes, there he is.
Hello, everyone. My name is Josh Mitchell. I'm a student at The Ohio State. It's a pleasure to be joining you all today. The reason I selected the red flag is a relationship with someone is a partnership with them, doing life with them. And if I'm asking you to spend all your time with me, not only is that selfish, but what I'm saying is that the life that I want to share with you revolves around me and me alone. If I'm a good partner, if I'm a worthy partner, if I'm someone who's selfless and caring for you, then I want you to enjoy the relationships you have with other people, your familial relationships, your platonic relationships, your professional relationships, and your relationship with yourself. So if you want time to hang with your girlfriends, time to spend with your family, time to work on your schoolwork and your career, time to spend by yourself, relaxing, I should be supporting you in that and understanding of that, not just trying to suck all the time in myself.
Woohoo! Yes. Come on, brother. Woohoo! Break it all the way down for us.
Yes, ma'am.
That is powerful.
I think just at the end of the day, just to reiterate and reemphasize what Joshua just said, it's very important to know your own boundaries and to have love and appreciation for the other relationships in your life. And any partner that you have, whether that's romantic or platonic or familial, should be able to respect that, because that's a huge component of you. That's a component to your growth, to your support system. And for that person to be wanting to take away that growth system can be really detrimental to your growth and to your future, and can ultimately lead down a path that's not happy or productive for you whatsoever.
Yes, absolutely, sister. Ooh, you all are so amazing. So amazing. Absolutely. I just know for certain that when you have people who want to control, you know, it's just, it's their way or the highway. That is when it's a red flag. And you don't want to ignore that, because that then leads to other things. Jada, what do you think?
Yes, definitely. We just talked about domestic violence and how that contributes to control. And during the pandemic, a lot of people have been isolated.
Yes.
You know, whether they are with people, they can be in toxic environments. They can be with people whose heart isn't in the right place.
Yes.
And then that protrudes their personal self-esteem and their ability just to see a way out. So we're providing information today to help them recognize these red flags and put the hard work into action.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Jada. Okay, why don't you share the next scenario?
Okay, you have been friends with someone for 3 years. All of a sudden, they are now ghosting you. They don't return your phone calls, and then they sometimes don't respond to your text messages. What might be going on here? Will we classify this as a red flag or a green flag?
And Jelani, why don't you start? Okay, someone said we got some greens. Looks like the guy said green. I wonder why.
Yeah. I would love to hear from you, Jelani.
Yeah, Jelani.
Okay, yeah, so my name is Jelani Gibson. I attend Ohio State University. I'm a senior studying strategic communication. And the reason why I put like a green, I didn't want to necessarily say that's a red flag. If anything, it could be a red flag for that friend crying out for help. Like they could be going through something mentally. If you've been friends with them for 3 years, I don't think it would be right to automatically assume that that what them ghosting you has to do with your relationship with them specifically. So I didn't know whether to put that as a red flag or a green flag, but definitely I think that that's just something to look at as far as like, you know, maybe reach out to that friend or maybe even just give them that space because like you say, you've been friends with them for 3 years. So, you know, I would assume that there's a lot of history with that and there could be other factors involved.
Yeah, I definitely like how you mentioned the fact that there might be other things going on with that person ghosting you. It might not, you have to remove yourself from the situation sometimes as that friend. You have to consider, okay, maybe they have something going on. We're in the midst of a pandemic. Maybe they just don't want to talk right now. And they shouldn't have to be obligated. But then if you are that friend who really and truly loves them, you will reach out because if they don't see you reciprocating that self-love and they're always on the giving end, that's when they give up, that's when they shut down, and that's when you end up ghosted. So we have to have a compromise. So I like to see that, you know, a majority of us had 50-50 because it also depends on the situation. So I really appreciate that. Ebony, do you have anything for us?
Yes, hello, my name is Ebony. I'm a second year and I'm studying dance and psychology. And I chose the red flag. Again, I think more context is needed. But for the general aspect, being ghosted by somebody that you communicate with on a regular level or a consistent level could be cause for like just somewhat of a concern. Not to say that it is to do with you necessarily, but definitely a reason to reach out and at least try to, you know, continue that communication for sure.
Yes, I definitely agree with that. And I still feel like the communication should be left open. I feel like people should recognize that some things are not always personal. You shouldn't take every gesture or every incident as a personal thing because your friend might be really dealing with something that they cannot explain, they can't interpret. And it's not always solely your job to take on all their weight, but if you are jointed in a partnership, relationship, or a friendship, you should be able to have these conversations and recognize how does my friend communicate? Do they like texting? Is texting their thing anyway? Is it like they're inconsistent with that? Or can I call them? Do they like to meet more in person? So recognizing, even though it's been 3 years, you might not know everything about your friend and they might only tell you the bare minimum.
And I have this saying that people seem to love, but I say in the absence of information, all right? In the absence of information, people make stuff up. And when they make it up, they typically go negative, right? So if you're not filling in the gaps for people, if you're leaving a lot of gaps for people, they're going to fill the gaps typically with things that are not true. So it's important for us to communicate what's going on so that people don't think, oh, they're ghosting me because all of a sudden they don't like me anymore, or, you know, maybe they have another relationship. Otherwise, you know, you just never really know what's going on until someone actually says what's going on. And so we don't want to have to try to guess. Guessing wastes time. And so the more you can communicate, the more that you can be transparent in your communications, the better. That's been my experience. What about yours?
Yes, definitely. And sometimes it takes time. It shouldn't be a time clock to somebody's personal boundaries. And that's something that I'm definitely going to talk about later. But recognizing that everyone has a different communication style, and you don't want to protrude a toxic person by not letting a person have that space and that freedom to actually go through the process they might be going through.
That's right. That's right. Shuba, did you have anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, so hi everyone, my name is Shiva and thank you so much for having me. I'm a senior studying neuroscience and I chose the red flag. I had a run-in with this actually a year ago, and so I was really, battling with it because it was a friend I cared about, it was a friend I, had a really good relationship with. And I think I really liked what you said, where it's like you have to learn how to communicate, respect the other person's communication, and really focusing on the self-talk that you tell yourself too. So, the best thing you can do is be a friend. So having that communication, caring about them. And then a lesson that I had to learn was also be a friend without expectation. I can't force someone to return that same friendship to me, even though if I want to be friends with them. So it was definitely a lesson that I had to learn.
Expectations.
Ooh.
Expectations.
Yes, yes. Wow. If you don't want to be disappointed, don't have expectations. Accept that you'll be respected, right? There's some non-negotiables that we need to make sure happen. But all that other stuff that we do, that we pile on top of people, and then when they don't meet that expectation,
meet
then
the
we're
standard.
disappointed. No.
Yes.
Let's not do that. The way to really truly communicate and have effective relationships is to share very openly
Yes, definitely.
what you desire out of the friendship, how you like to communicate, how you like to engage, so that people don't have to guess.
And another thing that I know we're going ahead, but another thing I think about is not being friends with someone based on proximity. And that's what a lot of times it comes to. We are confined to these people because we have classes with them. We're in the same scholarship program, or, we're in Girls to Women together. You need to actually build substance relationships to where I can call on you and I can depend on you in time of need. And sometimes time of need is just space. So I'll just end with that.
Absolutely. Ooh, this is good. All right, I hope you all are taking notes out there, because this is very important, what we're talking about. It can literally change the trajectory of your life by engaging in the things that we're talking about. So the next scenario, one of your closest friends lost a very important family member. You want to let them know that you will be there for them, but also want to give them some space to grieve. Is your choice to give them space giving them a red flag? Is it sending a red flag? Or is it a green flag moment? What do you all think? Ooh, I see a lot of greens there.
Yeah.
All right, what do you think, Jada?
I think just based on the dialogue, if you think in depth, you want to give that person space and time to really, go through the grieving process. And sometimes we have to consider the grieving process is not immediate. It might take years for somebody to actually fully recover, if they recover. So I feel like overall, you should give that person that space, but then check in, because at that point, you don't want to be ghosting them, and then they feel like you're only there for convenience, and you really don't have a true intention in mind for their well-being.
Mm-hmm. All right, everyone had green. Any member of the panel, share your thoughts. Yes.
Tiara.
Hi, I'm Tiara McKenzie, a second year studying psychology and criminology, and I wanted to thank you for having me. And I said it's a green flag because I'm actually dealing with this right now. And once you give that person that space to actually feel and understand their emotions and what's going on, and just have them be able to take back and analyze what really happened, because death is not easy, especially if it's close. It's not easy. So if you give them that space, they'll respect you, and then they'll also respect you even more and appreciate you even more when you do come to talk about what just happened with them, and allow them to actually open up and discuss how they're feeling, because sometimes it's hard to put emotions and words together, especially if it just happened immediately. So if you give them that space, that time and opportunity to sort out what just happened, analyze what just happened, I feel like they'll respect you even more as a person and as a friend, because you actually took the time and not just tried to bombard them with sympathy rather than empathy.
Yes, I love that.
Yes, I love that. Let's hear from Josh, one of the guys on this, because a lot of people think that oh, guys don't grieve or guys don't show
have
emotion,
emotions.
you know. So what do you think, Josh?
I couldn't agree more. In fact, that's exactly what I was about to say. There's definitely a misconception that's been perpetuated by our culture, especially as men of color, as people of color, that men don't cry, that the only emotions that it is okay for a man to demonstrate are anger and excitement, but not grief, not sadness. And as Jada so lovely mentioned, the process of grief is not immediate and it often comes in stages. There's a stage of denial, there's a stage of withdrawal, there's a stage of shock, there's a stage of acceptance. But a true friend, a true brother or sister is present to support in all stages, especially if you love that friend. Because true love doesn't leave, it might change form. There's a love up close, there's a love from a distance, but that love does not leave. So to Tierra's point and Jada's point, I do think it is especially important to check in, even on a brother. Check in on a brother. Just because I'm smiling, just because I still got the bass in my voice does not mean I'm okay. But when I trust you, I can be vulnerable with you. I can demask myself to show you that I'm not okay. And I need some space to myself. I need some time to grieve. I need some time to be with my family or to be with the support system of the loved one that I lost. But I need to be able to lean on my brother. So the space is definitely appreciated, but I do want to know that they're there. Maybe it's a text that says, hey, I know you're going through something and right now might not be the best time to talk, but whenever you're ready, just know I'm there for you.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, Josh. And to that last point you made, a lot of times people do send that text checking in on somebody, but at the sense, if they felt like they've been ghosted, it might be one that makes the person on the other end feel guilty. So we don't want to make people feel guilty for taking that space. So that's one thing I would like to point out.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
The
And,
guilt
you know,
trip.
I recently lost my mom June 10th of 2019, and I am so thankful for all the love and support and everything, especially for my father who's watching. Hey, Daddy. 87 years young, you know, and today is my parents' 61st wedding anniversary. So mom is celebrating in heaven, daddy is celebrating in Southfield, Michigan. 61 years. And, you know, when you're together with someone that long, that's a huge, huge loss. But guess what? He has a friend, we call him Uncle Rufus. He has other friends from church. These men call him every day. I mean, like literally. And they check on him all the time. And it is so heartwarming because, again, as Josh was saying, a lot of times people say, oh, men don't do that. Yes, they do. And they show love and they're checking on him and they're making sure that he is not feeling lonely or alone. Because that's half the battle, right? It's feeling like you're in it alone by yourself. It's just a beautiful, beautiful thing. And so making sure that you know how people want to receive that love, if you need a bit of space, is very important, I think.
Yeah, and definitely. I know you mentioned 61 years of marriage. Like, you have to imagine, people change. You imagine the corporations change on average every 5 years. Imagine how often an individual might change and experience growth. So you have to consider that when you're building these relationships and friendships. Sometimes it's okay to outgrow people, you know, and sometimes you have to stick it out if it's like a covenant. If you're committed to someone or some concept or belief, you have to stick it out. But we want to give you the tools and the proper things to make sure that you are fulfilling the best life.
That's right, that's right. Jada, take it.
So I will go ahead. So you share with a friend that their actions make you uncomfortable. It's taking you a while to share this truth because they are not sure how you will respond. They don't take your comments well. Is this a red flag or a green flag?
Woohoo! Uh-oh, there are a lot of reds. Listen, you say, hey, I'm not comfortable with that, and they get mad? What? What's going on here?
Is it me? Is it you?
Is it me? Is it you? Anyone from our panel? You can feel free to just unmute yourself.
I think Ebony's going.
Yes, I think she's trying to.
Yeah, I was looking at Jenna. I thought she was gonna speak, but I just with friends because I have been in situations where communication is a big value of mine, and honesty is another core value. And I think that when you are true to yourself, one of my biggest affirmations is I am myself in all spaces and in the presence of all people. And I think that it is very powerful, and it can lead you to literally just success in almost any area. So when you're being truthful to yourself and expressing yourself to someone who's supposed to be your friend and they don't want to receive that, that person is no longer your friend. That's not someone who is hearing you or there for you or supporting you. So that's all I have to say about it. Yeah, definitely a red flag.
That's
Transparency.
You said it. You said it. And affirmations are so important because we have to speak life into ourselves. And that helps us to then be very clear about these boundaries. Was someone else going to share their thoughts?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and share. I didn't introduce myself earlier, so my name is Jenna Bailey. I am a second year at Ohio State, majoring in evolution and ecology. And something that I thought about touching upon just a couple of moments ago when we were talking about expectations. So it is definitely important to balance expectations within a relationship. It's not fair to put high expectations on other people, and nor does it feel good when those expectations are placed on yourself. However, I do think that it is acceptable and encouraged to have standards. It is definitely important to have standards for any relationship you are in, and a healthy relationship should have the standard of open and free communication where you can feel honest to say things that might not be ideal to the other person, but you can still have a conversation about it and continue to grow from there. Everybody has needs in any type of relationship, and hopefully you are in a relationship where you can express those needs openly and have them reciprocated. If somebody isn't reciprocating those needs and if somebody isn't receptive to your thoughts and your feelings, then that kind of diminishes the efficacy of a relationship. I mean, it's not good for anybody involved to have a relationship where you can't be honest with each other. And I think that is definitely a red flag and a sign to just take a step back and reconsider just what kind of dynamics you're playing into in the relationship.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Ooh, that's so spot on.
And that's what I was kind of hitting on earlier. If you've been knowing the person, let's say for 3 years, you might have been known them for 2 semesters. Just imagine they might be building a wall. You might have met them when they were in a process of blocking themselves from the world. So they might not know themselves authentically. So if you're trying to pry out information from them, they're definitely not going to be receptive. They're not going to be transparent. And even if they are going through a process, we need to recognize that everybody's healing process is different. People have gone through different traumas that have put them in predicaments that they might not want to be as vulnerable. And you should think, let's not guilt trip this person. Yeah. Let's not make them feel more condemned than they already are. So I definitely agree with that, Jenna. I appreciate your response.
Wow. Oh, you all are so incredible. I told you we're connected for life. But you all are just so awesome. We have one last scenario that we have time for. I knew that we would run out of time with this. This is such a great exchange. Dialogue, yes. This is such a great exchange. Your friends seem to come around when you are experiencing great challenges. Oh, they love it because it's just, ooh, woe is me. But when you're having those those mountaintop moments, they're not around. They kind of flee. Because some people like to see us when we're down, but not when we are having those mountaintop moments. That's it. And Jada, what would you say about that?
When I heard that question, it made me think they want to meet you where you're at. And I talked about people changing and evolving all the time. Yeah. We want to make sure that you can be your authentic self. You can have these goals, and your friend is not jealous. That was one of the things we talked about, not envious. You should be building together, and if that's not the case, it's okay to remove people from your lives in a respectful way.
That's right.
And if ghosting is something that you have to do, and that's the way that you communicate those feelings, then, that's an option. But you don't want to leave the person, you know, stranded, not knowing, you know, you want to be transparent. But sometimes you just have to let that go because you don't want someone to hold you down, condemn you, and make you feel bad for elevating because when they met you, you were at a different level and now you've elevated and they feel like they have to keep up or either they're not fulfilling that same destiny.
And you know, ghosting in and of itself is, you know, can be disrespectful, right? Because you're leaving people hanging. The key is making sure that you tell people, you know what, this is no longer serving me. This is no longer a win-win proposition for me. Something isn't right. I'm not sure what it is. Perhaps we can talk about it, but this is not right. And being okay with saying that. And I want you all to have these conversations as young people versus waiting till you're 40 and 50, even though I'm 25. And
I'm 12.
Yeah, you're 12 and I'm 25.
Okay.
You know, I don't want you to wait and really hone this skill, because this is a courage muscle that you have to build. I don't want you to wait. I want you to start having these courageous conversations as young adults, because it's going to make a huge difference when you go into your field of work, for your personal, your professional relationships, if you learn how to tap into and use your voice. Well, we are out of time.
Yes.
I can't believe it. I am so very thankful to all of our panelists. I love you all. I will be staying in touch with you. As I said, you're my new mentees. Anything that I can do to serve you, send smoke signals, text messages, whatever you have to do, and know that I will be here for you. Thank you so much.
We really appreciate it.
We appreciate you all.
Enjoy the rest of the event. Yes.
Yay, peace, deuces. Thank you all so much.
That was powerful.
That was powerful.
Like that made me do a lot of self-reflection.
I'm telling you, I mean, it's significant. We are breaking and freeing people up, breaking strongholds this afternoon.
Here we go. From Minneapolis to the Natty, you're now rocking with your girl, DJ Lisa Blade.